Hey, and welcome to another episode of Grit in the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Adam Short,
And I'm your co-host, Melissa Short.
and together we're here to talk about toxic faith, spiritual abuse, religious trauma, church scandals, hypercharismatic church, and just really this episode, we really wanted to just kind of take a step back. I know quite a few episodes we've spent time talking about scandal news and sort of how that's impacted us and other people. And I think this time we were wanting to crack it open a little bit and just talk about our process.
Yeah, we kind of haven't done so much of that in a while.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
had a convo earlier and just kind of had a few things that came up that were, top of mind and sort of front and center for us. So that's what we planned. And so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I know we took some notes. Where should we
Mm.
start?
I think probably um, the one I'm thinking of is that word picture I got.
Yeah, that was good.
Um, we actually were having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and during that conversation, it's like it just came to me. Sometimes that just happens. Like you feel like you have this word picture or sort of visual as to what your process is like in something. And so what I saw in my mind was it was like your house is being torn down simultaneously, demoed while you are trying to rebuild it. Like,
Yeah,
for example, let's say we're tearing our deck off the back of the house and we're tearing out the kitchen. We're like blowing out walls out of the kitchen. But then on the opposite side of the house, we're building a brand new home office, or I don't know, fill in the blank. We're building a front porch. And it's like the house is simultaneously being torn down slash or what's the word? Demolished, but then rebuilt and reconstructed at the same time. And I feel like that describes my process right now. Like I have I have things that I'm trying to figure out what I believe about still, but I also have things that are getting rebuilt. Like, for example, learning how to worship with music that might have triggered me in the past. So yeah, that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind.
yeah.
What
I
do you
think the
think?
way you said it was that caught like really hit home for me was a demo and a remodel at the same time.
Yeah,
And like, yes, that
simultaneously.
describes deconstruction so much, like at least uniquely in our process, because we have all these like things that keep like as we're going on this down this road and we keep learning, it's like right another piece that we're deconstructing in the process while we're trying to build back up too. So yeah, it
Hmm.
feels like this kind of tug of war a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounded better the first time I said it, but I'm trying to think what other thoughts were around that. Yeah, I think it's the nuance of trying to figure out, and I've talked about this with a lot of people, but what do you keep and what do you throw away?
Yeah.
You know, you see abuses of the prophetic, you see abuses of healing, you see abuses of offerings, right, at church services, and And so it's like, well, is all of that bad? Did God heal anybody? Did God speak a prophetic word to you or to somebody else through you? Or even word of knowledge? Like I think of one specific, you know, experience I had where I did see the word of knowledge like in a way that was there's no way anybody would have known this
Yeah.
information about a person that was in a whole different state. And so I know that that was real and legitimate, but it's like but then you have to mix that with or you have to sort of pick that apart with the abuses that have happened too, if that
Yeah. I
makes
don't know.
sense.
Yeah. Like I'm still working that out. I know this thought that's kind of come to me recently, and I don't even think I've shared this with you, is kind of like this idea, like, you know, I don't know, for me, I'm getting to this point, like, in my deconstruction, reconstruction, it's like, well, is it up to me to deconstruct and reconstruct everything? I think there can be a lot of pressure that it's up to me to figure out what's true and what's not. And I think that kind of, again, for me, because I'm still, identify as a Christian and
Yeah.
believe in Jesus, like, kind of removes him from the process, and I'm kind of learning to kind of hold that a little more loosely too and go, like, it's okay to just kinda go down this process and,
Mm,
like, figure it out as I go and let God kind of show me along the way, like, not feel like it's up to me to, like, parcel out all these pieces. I feel like that can feel really overwhelming,
mhm.
and, like, a lot of pressure too, like, if it's
Yeah.
all up to me to figure out what to deconstruct and not.
Yeah.
Because it's kinda like what we talked about, it's like, we never started this process to begin with,
Right. Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
and so many of us, it's like abuse happened or something happened, right, in your church community,
Yeah.
or, some kind of spiritual abuse or religious trauma happened, and it right, it led us down that process of this, like, God orchestrated not the hurt and the harm part, but, like, what came after that, and so
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like returning to, like, I never started this process, and
Mhm.
it's not up to me to, like, completely, right? Like, figure every detail out. And that, like, kind of, I guess lately I'm kind of landing in that place more
Mhm.
of, like, going, okay, like, it'll kind of settle,
How do you do that or not do it? Because we're trying to not do it, right? We're trying to realize that we're not supposed to do all this, but how does that work for you? Or how do
Yeah.
you how does I don't know what my question is. Does that make sense? Like, because I'm one of these people, ironically, I don't have a problem in or with finding or being centered, and like getting centered and living out of a place of rest rather than striving. That's not I don't feel like that's a problem for me, but I do feel like I struggle with the whole doing deconstruction. Like, how much of this do I do? How much of this do I not do? So do you just sit back and I mean, how does that work?
I don't know, I guess for me, I'm just thinking, like, letting the process unfold, right? Like, doing what
Yeah.
we wanna do, right? Listen to the podcast, read the books,
Yeah.
whatever. For me, it's like doing different trainings and stuff, but it's like letting it naturally unfold, right? And not feeling like I've got to deconstruct every single, teaching I've ever had and figure out if it's true or not. I mean, if that's what you want, I think, for you, you're like we've talked about this before, like you
Yeah.
want to put everything on the chopping block. For
Right.
me, I'm
Right.
like, I'm okay not putting everything. Like, I'm kind of okay, like, holding on to these certain pieces. And I still don't fully know what all those are, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm settling more and more, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm having a settling where, like, you know what? I don't have to figure out all of the pieces, and
Yeah.
I may
Okay.
actually not, but can I let this process unfold that I didn't actually start,
Yeah. Right.
if that makes sense. But
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you talk about it like that, like we didn't it's funny because deconstruction is such a buzzword now,
I
but like
know.
when we started,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
now when we look back, we know what is and was and has been deconstruction. It we didn't know that's what it was at the time. Like you
Yes.
remember back, I don't know, when did we start? When did it's like we didn't choose this. When it chose us, but when did that start for us? Was it 2011? I mean, I would say
Yeah.
2011
Yeah.
was when we left Bethel, right?
Yeah.
Like that we got on this path, not necessarily voluntarily, right? I mean, it was sort of the path that we felt like we are supposed to go, but little did we know that the result or the part of the process would be very much deconstruction as we know it now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we talked about. Cause, like, I think that word became really big, like, in 2020. Like, that was like the huge, like, deconstruction. And we laughed because we're like, "Oh,
That's what
that's what
that
you
is.
call it?" Like,
Yeah.
we had been doing that for almost a decade, and it
But
had
but
been, yeah,
but to like unpack that some more, like when you say we had been doing that, it was like it was more of we we had been exiled, right? We had been living in exile and a lot of isolation, frankly, from a community standpoint, wouldn't you say?
yeah.
And uh, yeah, I don't know. I feel like my thoughts are all over the place about this.
Yeah, no, you were just saying, like, if we go back to, like, for us, like, we left Reading in 2011, we moved to Texas, and that's kinda where, like, it was a big wake-up call for us, and where things really started to unravel in our story
Yeah,
with spiritual abuse and religious trauma and high control group. And yeah, it forced us into this situation to go, wait a minute, like, something's not right here. And so I think that's where, again, we didn't have the language for it. We wouldn't have called it deconstruction. We didn't know what the heck was going on. I just remember feeling like I remember when we first moved there, like the rug was just pulled out from under me. We went from Disneyland, spiritual Disneyland at
Yeah.
Bethel, where we had a rich community, tons of relationships, tons of friendships, support system, and church,
Yep.
to going to what we thought was a support system and community and friendships in a church, to experiencing the complete and utter opposite. So it was like, for me, I just remember feeling like the rug had literally been pulled out from underneath me and just completely, just out of sorts, like what, disoriented.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. To put it mildly.
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, interesting process. And I know everybody's process is different. And that kind of like leads me into like one of the other things I wanted to talk about. Like,
Mhm.
so interesting as we meet different people in different parts of this, right, NAR, new apostolic, what is it? Just lost my brain.
Reformation.
Thank you. New apostolic reformation, or the hyper charismatic movement. Like, everybody's in a different place with all this stuff, and you
Yep.
all are in a different place with everything. And I think the one thing that, like, has been difficult is, like, when I see other people who've been through, like, in some ways worse than
Worse.
what we went through,
Yeah.
but I see them doing better than we are.
Yeah, which we're glad they're doing better on
Yes.
the one hand. Like, I'm super glad too, like, right there with you. But yeah, no, it's like, we're like, "Oh, was what we went through that bad?"
Yeah, you
You know,
did. I remember for years, yeah.
you wonder like, "Oh, maybe there's just something wrong with me, and I've just taken longer than most to get past or through this."
Yeah, I remember for years feeling, like, so stuck, like, "Why am I not able to move past this? Why is this still affecting me?" I think we would talk over and over again about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's painful because we would see, and I think I've mentioned this before, other people from the same high control group kind of moving on. They seem to be doing well, and it's like, why, Lord? Like, why were we the rejects? I'm just saying that's my mindset at the time. Like, why were we the rejects? Why were we the lonesome that couldn't, like, power through, couldn't move forward, couldn't get back in church? Like, why was that so different for us, was a big question that I had for many, many years. And I think,
What's the answer to that question? Because I feel like I still don't know the answer. What would you say?
well, yeah, I think a lot of my training and understanding what trauma and PTSD, post traumatic stress, even if you don't have post traumatic stress order, but just post traumatic stress, um, you know, how that impacts us. And it helped me understand, like, it actually took off so much shame and blame,
Mm,
understanding that, like, right, two people can go through the same thing, and it can affect them completely different, right? You
yeah,
see this in families, right? Like, a chaotic, abusive, family. You got one person who goes on, maybe becomes a doctor or a
yeah,
lawyer, and the other person becomes an addict. And you're like, how does
mm.
that happen? They came from the same,
Yeah,
the
one's
same environment. And a lot of like, there's a lot of different reasons the same thing can impact people differently. So my experience of the high control group could have been different than the other person's experience in the high control group.
true. Yeah.
And there's a
Well,
lot
we've
of
seen
different
that.
reasons for that, right?
Yeah.
The level of your relationship, how close you are to people at the top. Your nervous system actually plays a role in how something impacts you. So the more, right, resilient your nervous system is, um, and that's not something you really have necessarily control over, like, per se. I mean, initially, but, like,
Yeah.
if you have a lot of, like, adversity, your nervous system's capacity is smaller, and trauma takes up a lot of your capacity in that nervous system. So something like that, just there's not much capacity to handle it. So it becomes overwhelming very, very quickly. And so I don't know if that makes sense,
I
but,
feel
like,
like I'm in that category.
yeah, but it's really not anyone's fault. Like, your body and brain respond to this, right? Like, outside of our control. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like, oh, you didn't have faith or you didn't get back up. It's like it impacted me differently, and it
Yeah.
impacted my nervous system. My nervous system essentially said, in your nervous system, this was so overwhelming that we could not process it. And what
Yeah.
what makes something have a lasting impact is you don't have the adequate support. So, right, if you go through something traumatic and overwhelming spiritual abuse, but you are met with support while you go through that,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to recover probably a lot faster.
Makes sense.
But when you go through that without support, it can lead to post traumatic
Or
stress. It can lead to, right, a prolonged process of healing. And so I think knowing that has helped me make sense of like, oh my gosh, this is why this has been so hard for us. This is why I haven't been able to move forward. We did not have support through the 4 years that we spent in Texas, where it was literally overwhelming event after
yeah.
overwhelming event after overwhelming event over and over and over again for 4 years straight.
Yep.
We did not have adequate support. We were isolated. Like the people that we went to find support from became the people that hurt us the most.
Mm.
And so we did not have that there. And it was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And the result was isolation. We
Right.
learned very quickly that the only way to get through
Mm.
this hell of a season is to isolate and
Yep.
to just, right, be by ourselves. And that's
Yeah.
what we did.
Yeah. I mean, we still had a semblance of a community, sort of, with lots of guards, with lots of
Right. Yeah.
walls up, to protect ourselves from what we perceived as threats and
Yeah.
a high degree of unsafety, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so it's ironic that you can have what appears on the outside, or even in a middle layer of depth, right? It can appear to be like, oh, you have a community, but really at the end of the day, it wasn't. It was a far cry from what we had at Bethel.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a whole nother,
Yeah.
discussion to compare those two communities. But yeah, it was, yeah, that's, I like how you put that. It was like the rug was ripped out
Yeah.
from the bottom.
Yeah, and it's like anything too fast, too quick, too soon, or too long is trauma. People think trauma is like this big event, which it can be, but it's anything that overwhelms your nervous system
Mm.
beyond your nervous system's capacity, and we don't really control that. It happens to us.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to note. Like it takes a lot of blame off. Like I didn't choose to struggle with this. I'm not choosing to stay stuck. I'm not choosing to have a hard time. My body and brain have adapted to this overwhelming experience
Hmm.
in the best way it knew how.
Yeah.
And you go into your trauma responses, isolation, and like, that's a whole nother thing. If you want to know more
Yeah.
about that, go to my, my business, my business page. But yeah, like I was just thinking, I wanted to say something too, like about our community in Texas. It's like, you know, some of you might be watching from that community. It's not that any of you, like any of the people, like, you know, we had a really wonderful people in that community who I love a lot of those people, but the challenge was, right, the control, the authoritarian control and the structures and dynamics of control that were coming from the top down. We could not be authentic with each other. At least we didn't feel like we could.
Yeah.
And so even though there was maybe people that like we did identify some people that were safe and we
Hmm.
still are in contact with them
Yeah.
today. We love them.
Hmm.
But it was like we were so prevented from actually entering into maybe more of a, support system in that way because we
Yeah.
were not allowed to talk about this stuff that
Yeah, it
was
was
going
it was a
on.
taboo subject.
Yeah.
There were specific things that we were not permitted to talk about. We were actually kind of sworn to secrecy.
Yeah.
And so there was a whole nother like set of realities with that, like fear of, you know, talking about something and then being punished for it, and
Yeah.
having repercussions that weren't just relational, but were also financial because I know you worked there for a little while, but I
Yeah.
worked there for 4 years, and that was our livelihood by and large. And so it's kind of it's kind of like, reminds me of the conversation we had with our friend yesterday, where when financial um, dynamics are in play, when you also have a high degree of control, that only accentuates the effect of the control, because if the threat is that you'll lose your financial
Yeah.
sort of lifeline, as it were, if you buck the system, like that's a major um consideration.
Yeah.
It's a major consideration. And I remember wrestling with that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and finally, we made the decision to break away and leave and stuff. But yeah, that was a major thing for me to come to that crossroads for sure.
Yeah, and just, like, all the implications of, like, all of the friends that in that community worked there, like,
Yeah.
everybody worked at the same place, everyone was friends, everybody did everything together, so, there's a lot with that, right? Like, the dual I don't wanna say it's like a dual relationship, but when you work together and you're friends together and you have these spiritual, right, authorities together, like, your whole life is mixed together, and so
It's all
there's no
enmeshed.
boundaries, there's no separation, and so when it is bad and toxic, it creates so much distress, right, in that, like, there's so much within that was so challenging, right? Because,
Yeah.
right, if it was just a church, right, you might be able to have friends at a different, different place, or
Right.
if it was your workplace, might have been separate from your spiritual
Or
community,
your
right? Those things would be
yeah,
parceled out.
immediate family or something.
But that's like the culty dynamic,
Yeah.
is it was everything.
Yeah,
And
your work life, your religious life, even though we didn't really participate in the religious part as much as we tried
yeah,
not to. I mean, it was still there,
yeah,
but yeah, we kind of opted out of that in a lot of ways. But yeah, like all of those worlds were definitely like orbiting around the entire
yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah, and it just makes me like we were just talking earlier about, like, for me, it's so funny, like, they say trauma is like a disruption in memory. So it's like the way that you don't remember with like a explicit memory, you have feeling memories.
And I still have to ask you this, but for people who don't know what that is, can you expound on what those are, like feeling memories versus explicit and all that stuff? What is that?
Yeah, so you have explicit memories, which are like, right, you can recall, like, "Oh, yeah, when I was 5, I went to the grocery store with my mom," and, implicit memories are feeling memories. So you don't have, like, a cognitive or explicit memory, you have a feeling memory, which is tied to your emotions, so it's a sensation in your body. So, for example, when we were in the high control group, right, when a certain practice was done or things that were done, there was a sense, right, of like
Yeah.
freezing up in my body or fear or terror or overwhelm. Um, so what happens with trauma is your body remembers that. So I might be in a similar situation now. My body feels something similar and I feel like
Yeah.
I'm right back there.
Yeah.
So you have like you have these triggers that are actually feeling memories and you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And that's part of the reason why. But forget
Yeah.
where I was going with that.
I think I interrupted you to ask about the feeling memories just for people to know. But we were talking about enmeshment and
Yeah.
like how the different components were sort of all connected, and how that made it even more difficult for us to find like
Oh,
even an
yeah.
opportunity of safety, right? Where
Yes.
we felt like, oh, we can crack it open and be completely open with people and honest and stuff. And I think looking back, we had a few moments like that,
Yeah,
but
it
they
wasn't,
were.
like,
But
all
I just
horrible, but
remember like I lived hyper vigilant
yes.
all of the time. I mean, I think I probably still do largely,
Well, not quite to
but
that extent. That was, like, a whole 'nother level for us.
yeah, because you're always like your antennas are always up, or as we call it down here in the South, our antennas. Our antennas were up, looking for, like you say, your brain is scanning every couple few seconds, looking for, okay, is this safe? Is that safe? Is this person, and dude, that'll wear you slap out.
Yeah, and when nothing feels safe to you, yeah, you do have to be in a hypervigilance because you don't know at any moment,
Yeah,
am I gonna have to guard myself and, keep myself safe?
yeah,
And that was the thing I remembered, like, I'll have these memories come back to me. Like I had this actual memory come back that I think I kind of blocked out or forgot. But, you're part of this group. I was a hairstylist and I worked. So this town we were in was very, very small. Everybody kind of knew everybody, kind of feel like there was no space from anything, which made it very
It's like a
difficult.
fish bowl.
It was like, right, you have there's so many layers to this, which I'm like, I hope I'm not confusing all of you, but like one of the pieces, which I'll tie this back into what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a hairstylist, and I worked at some salons in town, and I had so much like distress at work. I had never experienced anything like this at any I worked at different salons in California for many, many years. We moved to this tiny town in Texas, and like I looked high and low for a place to work, worked with somewhere. I mean, the first place I worked at was like just I mean, the people did not like me at all. I'm very kind, like, I've, like, naturally, been a people pleaser my whole life, so I'm
Mhm.
very, like, bubbly and kind and nice to people, like, go out of my way to try to, or at least at that point in time did,
Yeah.
and, I just people were so cold to me there that I worked with, and,
Mm.
um, at one point, I was managing the salon I worked at, and I was regularly, like, getting cussed out by the girls who work there and stuff was being stolen from me. And I just
Mm.
never knew what I was going to walk into. And I think the last straw for me was I walked in and someone that worked there had stolen the TV. And I was like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, so again, it's just like we don't think about work like our environment matters so much with all of this
Yep.
we adapt to our environments, and when there is stress, when there is chaos, when there's all that going on, it has an impact on us. So like we got it going on in the high control group, and then I've got it at work, so I'm like, okay, I'm leaving here and I'm going to go find another place to work. I go find another place to work, seems like it's going to be better, and then there's more stuff there. And just like content warning, gonna talk about sexual assault for a minute.
Okay.
Um, so I find another salon, and looking back, I think I'd yeah, anyways, I'll leave that part out. But so I find this other salon, I'm working there, and again, just very stressful. I've got the girl, a couple spaces down from me talking about her nights at the strip club in detail in front of my clients. I've got young 12-year-old girls, and I'm like, oh
I
my
forgot about
gosh.
that.
Like, I would
Gosh.
have to go to her and be like, hey, do you mind like toning that down? I've got like young kids
Yeah.
here. Like, just stresses that you would not think you would have to deal with at work.
Yeah.
And one of the last straws for me was like, and I think I even stayed longer after this, but again, content warning, my boss, the owner of the salon at the time, um, she basically exposed herself to me and was like, here, touch my breast. And I was like, no, thank you. And she grabbed my hand and put it on her. And I was
Ugh.
horrified. And that was just one of like many situations at that place. I actually kind of unpacked recently that I actually felt I was concerned that she might hurt me. Like it
Mhm.
was that level
Yeah.
of like I was afraid to leave. Like I actually was so afraid to
Yeah.
leave working there
Yeah.
because I thought she might
I r
harm me.
I
And
remember you talking about that.
actually beyond that, like she had connections in town. There was like a vindictiveness, like
Mm.
a subtle like thing that I actually felt like not only would she maybe harm me, but that like she might try to like
Do
destroy
something.
my reputation, like
Yeah.
not allow me to work. So like I felt trapped. I felt trapped. It was the only way I felt like I could provide. That was my career. That was what I had training in.
Yeah.
So I say all that to just like, the level of stress
Mhm.
everywhere we turned was so bad. And we lived in that for 4 years.
Yeah.
And, so when I think about today, right? Like, how is what happened back there showing up in my life
Yeah.
today, right?
Right,
Like,
right,
that's
right.
what we focus on. Like, not what
Yeah.
happened, but like, how has what happened affected you?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I don't trust people.
Yeah. Me
I
either.
actually don't believe that people in general are safe.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. No, for sure. Even though my experiences were different than that,
Yeah.
they had similar outcomes. And I feel like my guard is coming down more. compared to, I don't know, a few years back or even 5 years back, but yeah, it's definitely in millimeters. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like, I have like this brick wall around me, that I have meticulously and deliberately built to protect myself. And, you know, here comes a really kind person randomly that's like, and they're like really kind just for no reason. And I'm like, what do you
Yeah.
want? But then to experience like, no, they actually were really kind just because they're kind.
Yeah.
And like each time that happens, it's like a little bitty chink gets taken out of my
Yeah,
wall
exactly.
that I built, right? And I'm not ratting on myself. I know that that's just a natural sort of, it's what we do as people to try to protect ourselves after we've experienced harm. But I guess I'm just trying to show that I do see a glimmer in that, like,
Yeah.
or I see glimmers here and there, especially like, people, other survivors who have experienced harm who come forward with their story and they express so much empathy, and even other people who weren't necessarily survivors that are empathetic, that are like, oh wow, I'm so sorry that happened. Like those kinds of things really matter.
They matter yeah, they're
And
huge.
I mean, I used to be the kind of person that I just trust just anybody.
Yeah.
Like I'll trust random Joe, on the street. Like if I ran across like a homeless person on the street, I would usually feel empathy for them and want to help them, but I don't. I mean, I'm just being honest, y'all. I don't usually feel that for homeless because I'm like, I think they want something,
Mm.
and I'm like, dude, I'm struggling too.
Yeah. You're like,
I
"Can you
mean,
help me?" No, I'm just kidding.
I might could give you some money, but I don't know how much that's going to help you in the grand scheme.
Yeah.
But like anyway, I'm just trying to sort of, I'm responding to what you said around where you were talking about how's that stuff that happened then affecting you now,
Yeah.
and or what was your question, or what
Yeah,
how
like, how is it impacting you today? Like,
yeah,
that's what we like, that is what we focus on, like, that's it's not the thing, it's not the thing, it's how is the thing yeah, how is it showing up now? How is it
yeah,
affecting you right now? And it shows up in things like that, like, "Oh, I'm still isolating, I'm still protecting myself, I still don't feel safe with people." And it's, like, funny to think back, when we met, we were both, like, so extroverted. You
yeah,
had me beat, but
yeah,
both so extroverted, so open-hearted. We were both just very social at the time, and
hmm,
that was one of the things that I think drew us to each other. We would go out for fun and do street ministry. That was
yeah,
what we did for
treasure
fun.
hunts.
We would do the yeah, treasure hunts. But I mean, I look back on
Yeah,
those
it was
memories
fun. It
like
was fun.
fondly, like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Me too.
but yeah, like the stark contrast of what this stuff has done to us and how it's changed us, right? Some for better, but in other ways, it's like, you do miss the innocence, right?
I
You
do.
miss
Yeah,
being like oblivious to harm and
all of
all of
it.
the things that
Yeah,
can happen, right? Like it's like, yeah, I wish that I never had to experience this, but we did. We did. And we did not control, like there's nothing that we could have done to not experience that, right? Are there things looking back that I do differently? Yeah.
of course.
But like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I didn't control, like I had no control over that happening, and how that impacted us. And I think that's just so important to remember
Mhm.
that, in we don't control the impact. Impact happens to us. And I think even as you said, like I've built these walls, I would even say we don't build walls, we adapt. Like we
Okay.
naturally are adaptive.
Right.
And so, we have to heal. And that looks like, right,
Yeah.
finding
It's
safety in these with
Well, yeah, I mean, I
people
like to
again.
it helps me to understand this kind of stuff by using like real world
Mhm.
examples, like things that we can see, taste, touch, smell, and feel and everything. So like when you talk about adapting, you know what I think about?
What?
I think about, and I don't claim to be an expert on this at all, but like you've we've all seen these images or computer generated, or even maybe it's microscopic, of people's arteries, where their arteries are clogged
Mm,
because of plaque and
yeah,
cholesterol. And and I think if I remember correctly, when that happens, your blood vessels get hard.
mm,
The exteriors of your actual blood vessels get hard, and that's actually a medical condition. it's like your body is literally responding to the fact that you're eating pork fat. So it's kind of a cheesy way of just
Wait,
sort
how does
of,
that relate? Yeah, tell
well,
me
it
how that.
relates because it's just a natural response that your
Yeah.
body,
Yes.
it's not like you told your body, hey, body, or hey, blood vessels, um, you know, can you, add a layer of plaque on there
No, yeah.
to adapt to the fact that you've eaten so much junk, right? And so I appreciate you saying that about the, like, you didn't just go out and set out in life to build a wall. It's sort of, it's, yeah, it is kind of an adaptation. I mean, it's kind of like, I guess we all try to survive
We
at
do.
some
We are
point.
we are I think it's actually like a really amazing thing that God's given us. Like, for so many years we like, heard like messages around, oh, the flesh is so bad and like, self-protection. But I'm like, actually, self-protection is good in
Mhm.
certain cases. Like, we actually
Maybe a
need it.
God-given
It is a
trait.
God-given thing. Like, it's not all bad like we've been told. Like, if a car is coming towards me, I naturally jump out of the way. I don't have to like
Yeah.
think about that. It's automatic. And I think a lot of this stuff, it's an automatic, it's almost like a reflex,
Mhm.
right? Like in just how we were. And it takes time to undo that. Your brain starts to wire around that adaptation. It becomes a neural pathway.
Yeah.
And so healing is about, right, like working with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's like sitting with the impact of that. I think that's been one of the most frustrating parts for me. And I'll just be honest, like I get really angry still and frustrated and feel a sense of like just heartache when I see so many posts, just from people about like God can heal your trauma and, he can redeem everything and he can work it all together for good. And it's like, okay, is that true? Yeah, like, yes. But also, like, when you've walked through something, right, for 14 years and you haven't seen some of those parts redeemed or restored,
Yeah.
it does feel a little painful to hear those messages. And it's kind of like people that have, right, like chronic disease. Like I follow this awesome girl, KJ Ramsey, who is a huge advocate for spiritual abuse. And she's really open about her physical health conditions. And
Mhm.
she's shared for years people trying to pray for her for healing. And at a certain point, she just felt like, please stop. Like when people would offer face to face to pray for her healing, she actually, I think, like told people to stop like asking her because it felt like, right, you just want to fix me,
Yeah.
like I live with this, like this is
Yeah.
my life, and do I believe God can do it? Have I
Right.
been praying that myself for years? Yeah. But it's like we don't leave room for that process. And I think, right, we have this idealistic idea that like God's going to redeem it all and heal it all, and it's like here we are,
Mhm.
the message is like, well, okay, do I not have enough faith? Like, I've been through therapy, I've been through Christian counseling, I pray, I
Yeah.
read my Bible,
Got all the
I'm
demons cast
forgiving,
out
I'm
of me.
like, it's like every resource that I can think to exhaust,
Yeah.
I have, and I think you would say the same.
I
Almost.
have.
I'm not saying maybe there's things I haven't.
Yeah, but I mean, pretty much the works, like the laundry list of everything you listed. Yes,
Yeah,
I've
like
done all that.
everything you told me to
Done it
surrender,
all.
trust God, all of the stuff. And it's like, okay, I've done all of that and I am still here. And
Yeah,
that there's a pain that
it
comes with
is. It is, and oh man, oh,
it and a
there's so much I could say.
misunderstanding.
So much I could say about that. Like, and it's this is another of the ones, another one of the nuances, because I'm not also going to say throw all that stuff out either,
Right.
because I actually, there are specific things that did help me. And I remember like theophostic memory healing years ago. I did that, and that actually helped me a lot. And that, I'm sure there are a lot of people who think that that's harmful, or maybe had a harmful experience with that, which I get that. But I'm just saying, in my experience, I did benefit from some of those
Yeah,
tools.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's a
So
good point.
it's very binary and either or, to just simply say, I'm going to pick all of this up. I'm going to pick up this entire plant right here and throw it away. But what if one of the leaves on the plants actually can help me? What if this plant can help me? Or what if that? Or what if these little rocks can help me inside? You know what I mean? I mean, why do I need to throw all that away? And so that's what I struggle with. I wrestle with how much of this do you keep and how much of it. So I've learned a lot lately about the both and.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely go to a licensed therapist for sure. You know, um, I don't necessarily think I would go back to the other like Christian counselings and sozos and stuff
Yeah,
like
I don't
that
think
at
so
this
either.
point in my life. Like I'm pretty sure those things are not going to be beneficial to me now. But I do not want to also discount the impact that they had on, in my life back then.
Yeah, no, and I wanna say that too, like, those things have all been helpful. I think that's a good point, like, all of those things have been helpful to me too, but I guess my point was that they didn't resolve it like
Yeah.
people would think
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
do, right? Like, we're sold. If you
Sure.
just do A, B, and C, you're
You're
gonna
going
be
to be
healed.
happily ever after.
You're
Yeah.
gonna be, you're not gonna all your trauma is gonna be gone. God's gonna restore it all. And it's like, yeah, I believe, right? I believe in healing. I believe God restores. I have seen
Yeah.
that in areas of my life, but this particular area has been long suffering for us and hope deferred and
Yeah.
like a lot of heartache with it. Like
Yep.
a lot of question marks.
Tons.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this, God. We're just going through the process and taking one step at a time. But I do find it painful when I see the simplified,
Yeah.
even like I was in church, recently,
You
and
were?
this pastor, it was like a couple months ago, the Reformed church in town, and
Oh, yeah.
the pastor was talking about someone who had like a bad relationship with their parents or something. And I'm trying to remember all the context, but I'll keep it short. But he was like, something about, and God can fully restore your relationship if you've had a bad relationship with your parents. And as like a practitioner, I'm thinking, oh, like if you really knew, like some people would, like would love for that to happen, but it's actually maybe not possible on this side of heaven, not because they
Yeah.
don't want that, but because the other person is not willing. And so we don't
Yeah.
think about those things sometimes. And it's like, not to be like hopeless, but I think sometimes it's like realizing that sometimes the healing and redemption and stuff might be on the other side of like heaven. It might not be here. And that's really hard.
Yeah. That's a grief, maybe to sort of,
Yeah.
I guess, figure out and experience, not figure out, but like go through and
Yeah.
acknowledge and admit. I think that too, this ties into some of the false hope, like in the hyper
Yeah.
charismatic churches where there's always a breakthrough on the horizon.
Yeah.
Like there's always this next big thing or this, breakthrough, or you're going to have some type of fill in the blank. And it really does give people false hope.
Yeah.
It does.
It
I mean,
really does.
especially, reading some of the stories this week actually about a prophetic word and how it had an impact on somebody for 15 years. They're in the, and they're like the tension of holding that, but then it not happening, you know,
Yeah.
and that's excruciating.
Yeah.
It is excruciating.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's like you said, the tension of like, we don't give, we don't want to give up hope. I still want to hope and believe. But I think where I'm at now is like what's more important than even the outcome is like, right, internalize like understanding God is with me, Emmanuel with me in the process. Like that has been my hope is like, God, I'm not alone in this process. Like
Mm,
you are with me. Like that's actually been more of an anchor and more hopeful to me than what I want to happen. Like
yeah,
that has been what has carried me through is like,
that's way deeper too, isn't it? Like
yeah,
knowing that you're not alone, but that you might not get the outcome you wanted. Like, which would you pick at the end of the day? Like, if you could look back on your life, I don't know. Maybe some of us would say, "Well, I wish I had blah blah blah," but like to know that you weren't alone.
yeah, that's
That's
at the core of like what so many of our wounds actually is. It's
yeah,
not that what we went through, it's that what we went through without support, sometimes
yeah.
feeling alone. And even with God, like that's what's hard. Even in
Well,
that
yeah. I was gonna say
experience, like
for me, yeah,
the perception is that we weren't alone. And that's where the challenge is like, right? You can have Jesus and know he's with you, but then like you don't have the church, right? The body supporting
well,
you.
I'll be honest, like, I felt lots of times that I didn't know where God was.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I probably feel that now still, like from time to time. But it's like, I don't know. I've said this before. I feel like I'm just one person. I'm one
Mhm.
guy, you know, and God's pretty busy. He's got a lot of people to
Aw.
take care of. So I'm not trying to have a pity party. I'm just being honest, you know, and um in my process. But there are moments where I am aware of him.
Yeah.
And of course I believe in him, but believing in him and knowing he's with you are two different things.
Yeah. And that makes me think about kind of something else we talked about. I wonder too, like some of our struggles, like for some of us who are healing from spiritual abuse and religious trauma, and we're kind of exiled outside the church, don't have a support system. Some of these things that we're wrestling with God, like what you just said, it's like, I wonder if it would be different if there were people around us, right, that were showing us God through
Yeah.
this, that we would be able
Well,
to
there are.
internal.
There
What?
are.
What do you mean?
There are people who are showing, like, I will
Oh, yeah.
say the people showing me God probably the most right now are atheists.
Mm,
That's mind blowing. It's freaking mind blowing.
yeah.
Or people that don't know if they believe in God anymore, but the
Yeah.
stuff they write out of
Yes.
pain, like in their pain, oh my God. Like I don't even it bypasses my all my cognitive stuff and it goes straight to my heart when I read it.
Yeah.
And that is the most crazy thing in the world that somebody who doesn't even claim to believe in God can minister to you to that depth.
Yeah. It's really
That is
cool.
freaking mind blowing.
Because it's love, right? Like genuine love doesn't need a label. I don't think. I mean, love is powerful,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, I think it's like the both and, like we internalize, right, God's love personally between us and him, but then there's an element of that that can only be experienced with
Yeah.
others. And
True.
so
That's
when
true.
you
Yeah.
don't have that, there are pieces of your relationship with God that feel kind of like empty and like
Or
I don't think
missing.
yeah, I feel that like in certain ways, in different ways. My stuff is different that I struggle with. My thing is more like it's all up to me to do. Like you're actually not going to help me, God. Like that's my trauma. Like from what's happened, I'm like, oh,
Mm.
you love me. I know you're with me, but you're not going to help me. Like I've got to do it on my own. I've got to
You
figure
got
this
to help
out.
the Lord.
Yeah, and I have to like consciously pause and like remind myself like, okay, like actually, this is some of my trauma. Like I don't actually have to. But anyways, like I do think that the expression of community in our relationship with God is how we internalize parts of who God is to us. I don't think we can apart from that, which is why I think that makes it so much harder not having
Yeah.
that.
Makes sense.
That was something we talked about was like belonging.
Oh yeah.
Like we were just talking about how like human and natural and biological it is to want to belong with people.
Mm.
And um like biologically, like if you like actually study this, like it's fascinating, like biologically, like we need connection with other people to survive. Like your brain and certain parts of you will start to shut down your nervous system without support. And it can cause like when you're really isolated, like depression can be a big result of that isolation. I've experienced that like personally, like that's been a big struggle for me in the
Yeah.
past few years is having some bouts of depression.
Yeah.
And I can directly relate it to not having enough supportive, relationships. As great as our relationship is, have a few people that I talk to here and there,
Yeah.
but consistently
Right.
the support network and the support system is not there. Belonging, right? Like being known and seen in a community of people is
Mm.
so important for our well-being.
Mm.
And how often in church are we told Jesus only? Just
I
you
don't know.
just need Jesus and that's it. Like I
I don't know
believe
how often because I haven't been in a while.
well, I feel like I got that message that like if I just have Jesus, I don't need any people. Like that's how I took that. Like if I'm really full of faith and trust in God, then I don't need to have any other like if I need humans, there's something right.
Like something
about
wrong with
that,
you,
or
like that's bad or
yeah,
something?
like
But it's interesting because I think back on Bethel, and Bethel was the opposite. I feel like Bethel was the opposite. Bethel was like, if you try to lone wolf this without a community, then you're going to crash and burn. Remember that? They focus more, they sort of put more emphasis, they put more emphasis on that syllable.
emphasis.
They put more emphasis on that syllable, like emphasis on that syllable, meaning the community I feel like had more focus there than maybe it was like flip flop. Do you see what I'm saying? At Bethel, would you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, and maybe some of that was like the covering
I
thing
remember
too.
Chris, the what?
The covering, right?
Oh,
Like you need your covering is kind of
it,
the message that I,
oh,
you know,
okay. I just remember Chris talking about that a lot, or at
I guess
least
I don't remember that.
occasionally.
But yeah,
Okay, yeah, but
what are your thoughts on the belonging stuff? And
yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I think it's pretty self evident
yeah,
that we're meant to belong.
but like, why did no one ever tell me that? By a lot, like, how helpful would it be if someone was like, hey, biologically, you need people to thrive and do well, like in life and
Maybe
spiritually.
they should. You know what they should have done for us millennials when we were growing up, reading the cereal boxes on the back of the back of the cereal box. They should have, instead of putting the what was that, the food pyramid, where you
Oh
had
my
like you
gosh,
need
yeah.
3 servings of bread and 5 servings of vegetables or whatever. They should have put a little blurb on there about, hey, y'all need to be belonging to people.
Oh, hey,
You
it's
need to
called
have some.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and
Oh
it
yeah,
actually is a
it's
pyramid.
a pyramid. That's funny.
And like, what's crazy is
Yeah,
like you have to have like food, shelter, and clothing is the
clothing,
bottom. And
the
then
essentials kit.
psychological safe, like physical and psychological safety is the
Yeah,
second one. Like self actualization,
what is that?
like somebody else might describe it better than I can, but my understanding of that is like, right, like figuring out who you are and your the work you want to do and like
Oh, okay,
achieving your
I got you.
thing in life. Like you can't, that's at the very top. So we have like, the pyramid, like the top of the pyramid is like getting to all the stuff that we talk about in places like Bethel, like, right, your purpose and all the things. And it's like the lower level needs aren't met yet. And so we're trying to get to the top before the lower.
Yeah,
So,
kinda like on the missions trips where, like, on
oh
your
my
missions trip
gosh,
to
yeah.
Africa, y'all took art supplies to starving children instead of food, and it's
Yeah.
like, "Hello, the children need to eat.
Yeah.
They don't want art supply, I mean,
Yeah.
they don't want colored pencils to draw prophetic art. They need food in their bellies,
Yeah.
like, duh."
Yeah, and
It's
don't
like
get me wrong, they loved the art stuff because they don't get to do that, but it was like it was grieving for me. Yeah, anyways, I went to Congo.
off subject,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
a
go
whole other
ahead.
thing. But yeah, the children, we went and did art supplies and they had distended bellies in a displaced persons camp. And I'm like, why didn't we bring them food?
Yeah.
Anyways, one of those weird,
But
mission trip
that's a
culture things
real
we do.
example of what you're
Yeah.
talking about, where
Yes.
that pyramid
Yeah.
got flipped upside down, right?
Yeah. And we do that all the time. I feel like that's at the core of so much of this too, right? Like with all that's going on, I'm going to bring it back to the abuse and the scandals for a minute, right? Like people are bleeding out and hurting and it's like
Yeah.
mission. And I'm like, no, like your mission actually doesn't mean jack squat when you've got people down here who have legitimate, like people within your community are suffering, are telling you you're hurting them, and you're up here, the mission. I'm like, no, like it's backwards. So,
Oh, no. Something's going out.
but yeah, it's just kind of crazy, how the focus gets skewed and like going back to the basics, of yeah, basic needs.
Mhm.
Food, shelter, clothing,
The
water,
this
connection,
the essentials kit.
humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think, I don't know. It just, yeah, kind of circling back to our current, like where we're at currently.
Mhm.
Just so many question marks. It's like, yeah, how do you move forward? I mean, I think, like you said, like we've had every time we have a corrective experience, meaning a healing experience, like we meet with another survivor or somebody
Yeah.
else and there's kindness and we have an exchange and shared connection, like that's a healing experience. And I think all of those little tiny experiences add up to us feeling more safe, right? To kind of
Yeah.
connect with people again, and even doing this, like just
Mhm.
every little thing, we're doing to try to just put ourselves back back into life, back into, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know what the right word is, but back in the game of life. Like I have often felt like for a lot of years, like being sidelined. Like
Mm.
have felt for so many years, like I've like been on the couch and just kind of watching. I mean, clearly I've been a mom and, but like raising our son, been my primary job, but like kind of just watching life go by. Like I see families that are busy and have all their friends and sports and all these things, and our life is so quiet and it's so slow a lot of the time that it just, yeah, I sometimes, yeah, I don't even know how to articulate the process of like feeling
Yeah, I
like
know
I
what you
was
mean.
one way before this all happened
Right.
and I'm another way now, and
Yeah.
I like some of the ways that I am now, but I miss
You
some of the
miss.
ways that I was before.
100%. I would have put it exactly the same way.
And it's like inside, it's like I want to get back to some of that so bad, but
But
feel unable to in some
and then
ways.
for me, I'll add, like, I want to get back to that too, but I don't want that again. Like, I don't want
Well, the
what
form,
comes
right? Yeah.
with, like, all the stuff that came with that. Like, I miss parts of it, but I don't miss it enough to where I want to go back to it.
Yeah. Or maybe in a different form, right? Like what I mean
Yeah,
is like
different
the
form.
parts of connection, the parts of being open-hearted, the parts of like joy. I don't mean like the all of the crazy,
Yeah.
like religious stuff that we were a part of that we're like, no, thank you now. But
Right, right.
I miss so much of that. And yeah, I guess it's just like a big question mark. Like what does that look like for us in the future? I don't
Mhm.
know. But
Yeah, I don't know either, but we are taking it one step at a time, and, I think we're figuring it out as best we know how,
yeah.
you know?
One thing I was just thinking about, like in one of the trainings I took for trauma, one of the things this person who's doing the training said, and it kind of like sat with me or stuck with me. He was like, the whole goal is you want to coach people to get back on the horse. And I thought about that and I was like,
Hmm.
I don't feel like we did get back on the horse. Like we kind of went further and further back, after that experience. And I just sometimes wonder, like, you know, what would that have been like if we were able to, get into a healthier church or, but I didn't feel like we could. Like we were so traumatized.
Yeah, I
And
don't even know. I like that
e-
that sounds like another I don't even know what to
yeah,
do with that. Like,
I don't know. But I thought about that and I don't know. Like sometimes you do need to step. I think sometimes people are quick, right, to want to rush right into another experience, and then I think sometimes it's good to step back, right, and heal and examine what just happened before you jump into another community. But I know for
yeah.
some people, I hear that they find another church and that's been like the best
Yeah,
thing for them.
like,
And they're like,
I've talked to people who they went from hyper charismatic to Lutheran or
yeah,
to Anglican or,
yeah,
Orthodox or something like that, something totally different, like very liturgical
yeah,
or whatever, and which makes sense because it's very different than what, they came out of. So it's very dissimilar,
yeah,
probably very way less risk of trigger,
yeah,
but
yeah.
well, what else before we wrap? What
I
other
don't know. Was
parting
that all of
thoughts? Yeah. Um, yeah, I think we covered it. That was a good convo.
Yeah, kind of
That was a good
vulnerable. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, hopefully y'all found it helpful. It's just kind
yeah.
of sharing a little more about our process, and we don't have it figured out by any stretch, but we're
No, yeah,
just we're just trying to learn too, like probably y'all are. And, taking it one step at a time and one day at a time.
yeah. I think,
And some days it's not one step forward, it's 2 or 3 steps back, or at
hmm
least it feels that way. Um, but yeah, hopefully y'all found this helpful. But, any
yeah, I
parting
just
thoughts?
think moving forward looks different for all of us, and it's easy to compare. Like I know I've struggled sometimes with comparison, like, oh, look at
Yeah.
how happy and how well they're doing. But, like I just think coming back to, my process is different. The impact, again, going back to that impact thing, the way things have impacted me, my impact was greater, even if somebody had a worse thing, that how it impacted me the way it did. And so my path of healing, the timeline, how slow it may be, how long it might take, I just have to kind of go with the pace of my body and soul and spirit, and just kind of, like you said, one day at a time, two steps forward, two steps back sometimes. But yeah, I guess that's my thoughts for now.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, hopefully y'all found this helpful, and we'd love to hear what you think. If you have any comments or questions or whatever it is, we'd love to hear from you. Our email address is gritinthewild@gmail.com. So it's GRITINTHEWILD@gmail.com. And of course, you can leave us a comment in the YouTube channel. But we really appreciate y'all watching and listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.